Okay, stop. No, no. Come back to my voice. No, no, you're not doing anything wrong. Relax. But I can tell by your energies that you're horribly distracted. Without focusing your center, there's no way that you can find balance. And you definitely haven't been able to do that. Yes, I did just walk you through it. I tried to help you align your chakras and calm your chi. Even your ki is still not where it should be for this kind of... You're right, those are basically the same thing, but they're very slight differences. Well, they toe a very fine line and work different enough in ways from each other not to be the same thing, but that's not what this is about. Your energies aren't the issue here. Your focus is. Because without focus, they can't be aligned to calm you down enough to help you back to your body. That means whatever is keeping you from getting where you need to be is, well, up there, in that brain of yours. No, it's not a magic thing. It's a medical fact. The human body can't rest if the mind can't be at peace. Not everything I say has to do with the mystic arts, you know. I am still a doctor. If your mind is running 1,000,000 miles an hour and you can't focus on what you're supposed to be doing, that means you're obviously too distracted by something else. So, you care to tell me what that is? Huh. You have better eyes than I originally thought. I keep it under my sleeve so it doesn't run the risk of getting damaged. This is a chakra bracelet. It helps keep my energies in line and changes temperatures as a sign I need to work on something. Well, actually, they're polished gemstones, not beads. Each one represents a chakra in the human body and has a specific healing property to each energy that it represents. Pardon me? Well, it depends on who you ask, really. Yoga instructors and most masters will tell you there's only 7, yes, but there's actually 13. 3 of them don't reside in the human body. 2 are above the crown of your head and the other below your feet, where they make contact with the earth. Actually, I'm thinking that I should have seen this coming. You see, the bracelet was given to me by Damon, the friend that I mentioned to you earlier, just before he... And according to what he told me some time ago, it was a source of his power. A source. He was very powerful in many other respects. Well, yeah, sort of like, the cloak. It's not my source of power, but it helps. Well, each master has a relic that is partnered to them. Mine is cloak. Damon's was this bracelet, which he apparently made to help him with his own chakras and the powers that were associated to them. The fact that you were able to pinpoint the bracelet without seeing it, and that it's distracting you, has confirmed to me something that I've been thinking since we made contact earlier. Well, I mentioned previously that you are similar to Damon, that I could see a lot of common energies in you to him, and that is really only part of the truth. The longer we spend together, the more I'm starting to sense the same unique properties to the multiverse in you that I sensed in him. It's not sibling energy. It is familial, but more like... I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I think you may be the child that he lost in my reality. Yes, I understand how that sounds. I told you, magic can get complicated, and things that would normally sound like they're out of a sci-fi movie are partially normal in this realm, which you and I exist in. Damon was always the one who talked about accepting the unexplained, being part of normal life for us. And it's something you should consider too. So you have seen him in your world with the other heroes. Boron Dragon? Oh, that's... God, that's just golden. Oh, it sounds like he spent too much time around Tony in your world. They're married. Oh. Well, that explains everything. Ontario must be an interesting... Oh. I guess I should have seen that coming. No, it's my bad. Just ignore me. Okay. To help you understand this, I'm going to have to go back to the beginning and tell you your father's story to clear up how both you and I got here. Bear with me because he did have secrets that he didn't want to tell me. So I can only tell you the things that I know, either because he told me or they were things that I witnessed. Damon's childhood was complicated. He never told me the circumstances that led into what caused all of this. Or at least I don't think he did. But I know that he was born into an English woman named Patricia Dukes, who was very gifted at the mystic arts. She was a descendant of Merlin, apparently, who... Yeah, he was a real person. Not in the mythological sense with the pointy hat and waving a tree branch around, but yes, more accurately described in the TV series that ran in the early 2000s. Anyway, his mother had apparently been such a beacon for the divinity that she attracted a wounded Asgardian who had been at war with another planet centuries ago. Apparently, not unlike our own God of Thunder, this particular Asgardian fell in love with her, and that gave way to Damon's birth. And a lot of complications. Well, see, because humans and Asgardians aren't meant to consummate, because it can kill the child for reasons that even I'm not sure of. He never told me, but apparently Baldur, his father and son of Odin, chose to ignore that. And so did Damon's mother. It became apparent very quickly that they had indeed made quite an error. Not because their child was unhealthy, but because it had caught the attention of something much worse. Carnilla. Well, apparently a very strong, very cruel sorceress from a province in Asgard. In order to prevent Damon and his mother from being hunted and killed, Baldur went to his sister Helga, who agreed that she would help him hide his son's existence from the Yggdrasil, as well as any who sought to do him harm. Yes, even Odin. He became aware later, on when he actually went to Asgard for his grandmother's funeral, that his grandfather would have gone after him, because it breaks the laws of nature. Yeah, not the best way to meet your grandfather. So, Helga, being the goddess of death in their realm, shed a tear for her nephew that would embody her abilities to walk unseen among the living. She made Baldur a deal. He would leave the realm of Asgard and never return for any reason, leaving her to rule over life and death. Well, after he agreed, she gifted the tear to the god of light, who used his own abilities over life to hide the jewel within his unborn son, and, true to his word, disappeared. Well, no, it's different. Helga is not the same as Hela, the one that caused Ragnarok. I'm not entirely sure how. They're not the same person. Bear with me here. Well, that's the great mystery. No one really knows. Some say he just reincarnated into another being. Some say that he just ceased to exist. However, my personal belief, just from what I've seen of his son, is that he is still very much around somewhere. In the livestream, maybe, since that was his domain. He may no longer have control of it, but I think he would still work with the archangels from the inside. Damon was sneaky like that. Yeah. He often worked from inside organizations to do things that he felt necessary. Yeah, he was the type to break rules just inside of the boundaries. Well, he knew how to do things that he wasn't supposed to do without actually getting in trouble. Maybe that's what actually ended up getting us together. Yes, I know. Archangel's livestream, it's a lot. Try to keep up, though, okay? So, flash forward about 14 years in Pakistan, near the Swat River. Damon was being raised in a village called Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna butcher its name with my American pronunciation. But it means lotus bed in Hindi, one of the languages Damon learned from the Dragonlands. Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. Abanada, an old oracle who lived in the village, found him collapsed near the river, where he had been practicing his martial arts earlier that day. Oh, he was fine. He woke up with a nice, sparkly new accessory in his chest, as a matter of fact, right over his birthmark. It was a tri-skillet, and for the life of me, I don't understand how people didn't put two and two together. What, the tri-skillet? Well, it's the triangle thing, basically made of three spiraling interconnected lines. You've probably seen images of it before. Well, it's a Norse symbol of life, death, and rebirth. That's what they mean. So yeah, you can see why I'm confused at people's, what's a nice way of putting it? Well, I wasn't gonna say dumbassery, maybe ignorance, but yeah, whatever works for you. Where was I? I'm getting there. Just sit tight. The tear gave Damon a stronger control over magic than what he was originally born with. It caught the attention of the guardians of the temple of the water dragon king Apalala. No, I did not sneeze. And that is very rude. Apalala is one of the 5 high dragons, and you should be more respectful. Yes, basically dragon gods, okay? As I was saying, Damon was taken into their ranks and became an adept very quickly, thanks to the magic and his understanding that practically ran through his veins. Unfortunately, with all good things comes the bad things. Well, he got the attention of the dragons, but it drove someone he was longtime friends with into a jealous rage. And jealousy makes us very susceptible to manipulation. And that's what happened to Damon's friend, who became the avatar for a water naga named Sagara, and led a group of water demons to attack the temple. Yeah. If you're standing up on high, chances are someone's not going to be happy for your success. Well, the attack wasn't without casualties, and the sacred water dragon himself was badly wounded due to the desecration of his temple. In one last effort to save the River Guardian, Damon made a huge sacrifice, absorbing Apalala into his inner realm, using the Tear of Hell. Well, with that power, he was able to drive off Lahan and Sagara, and he saved Apalala's life. Okay, no, it doesn't sound like a sacrifice, but it's not as cut and dry as I make it sound. Well, I believe in turn, Apalala made a pact with him and took him to the Dragonlands. Well, it's a mystical realm between this dimension and the Yggdrasil, where a lot of mythical creatures live. Yes, like that. The place where Shang-Chi's mother is from. God, I'm so bad with names. What was it called again? Okay, I remember how it's spelled, but I'm not going to, butcher its pronunciation again. While he was there, he learned all he could from the other 4 high dragons, as well as perfecting a magic all his own. If you thought I was a quick study. The way he tells it, he just gobbled up as much knowledge as he could. And it really did help him when he did return to Earth. Yes, it does seem odd to leave a place as peaceful and beautiful as the Dragon Realms. And while dragons and chillin' may be wonderful, not that I've ever met one, they're not suitable for human companionship. No, he never introduced me. I don't consider it rude, I consider it practical. I would have liked to have, but Actually, I think that's on me. I don't think I ever asked to be taken there. I asked where the entrance was, but he was kind of... We're getting off topic. No, actually, I lied. Sorry. Apalala and I only spoke very briefly during a couple of intense moments between myself and Damon. He was a wise creature, and he offered me a lot of knowledge that Damon himself didn't possess, and I enjoyed his company for the, whole of 2 times that I met him. We're getting there. Okay, the next part is where your story begins. Yeah, you thought I'd never get there. Well, Damon returned to Earth and found that his mother was sadly departed. The longevity he had gained as a result of his father's bloodline, as well as being the avatar for Apalala, had taken him almost 200 years into the future. He had apparently spent that long in the Dragon Realms without really realizing it. The village he grew up in was gone too, but Abanada the Oracle was still alive, though it's not clear on exactly how. Either he didn't know, or he just never told me. From her he gained his mother's necklace, which had the symbol of the sanctums on the medallion, her people, as it were. Desiring to know more, he sought out these people to learn more about his mother's magic, now that he had grown stronger. And I believe this is where he met your mother. I spoke of her briefly earlier. We referred to her as the Ancient One. She was the leader of Kamar-Taj and the first person your father cared very deeply for. Well, this is the start of your story, and why you and I have come together will become more clear by the end. Hopefully, if you're paying attention, and if I can stop rambling. Your mother, Kiva. Yes, that was her real name. Damon told me in the strictest of confidence, but I feel like you deserve to know, if anyone. She saw his strength and at first perceived him as a threat. Now, the way he tells it, there was an Old West-style standoff on the steps of the temple. I mean, it's not her fault, really. Any very powerful, unaffiliated force tends to be a threat. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. The two of them were able to talk. Once he explained his lineage, after she asked him what his intentions were for Kamar-Taj, she allowed him entry, and even over time, grew close to him. Your mother did a lot of things she was not proud of, using powers she wasn't supposed to prolong her own life, to alter outcomes and make better endings for people. But I know better than anyone, good intentions are the slipperiest of slopes. I'm sure Damon knew. There was no way he couldn't. Either he was never told the truth, or he never pressed for it. I mean, that's what happens when you're in love, I guess. But he couldn't have ignored it, because that longevity is what brought them together, what brought them to you. He never talked much about their love life. He always just got a sad look in his eyes. The final straw was when they thought they lost you. A miscarriage is what they believed. Well, I don't know for sure what happened, but my personal theory is that it was your grandfather. You know, the one-eyed one, loves ravens. I believe he took you out from our reality and moved you elsewhere because he knew you would be in danger. The child of two incredibly powerful sorcerers, one of which being a literal demigod. Yeah, you'd turn some heads. He never saw fit to tell them, though. And because of that, it drove them to split up, because they both blamed themselves. And they didn't want the other to try and fix it. It's hard, even when you do communicate with someone, to try and make things work after a loss. They were stubborn, to say the least. But when you're that old, I guess you just have to be, huh? But if there is one thing I can assure you of, it's that your father and mother thought about you a lot, and they would be happy to know you are alive and well. What? I'm getting there, all right? Look, I told you this was going to be a long story, okay? God. These days, I swear it's all about instant gratification. You can't be patient for 2 minutes, can you? No, you know, actually, you don't get that from either of your parents. They were very wise and thoughtful and patient people. Come to think of it, though, that is a trait that someone else very close to Damon had. And that brings me to the next most relevant point in the story. Your father meeting Tony Stark. Their relationship had been dramatic from the start, for lack of a better word. Well, according to the way that Damon told it, he was being chased by the guards of the 5 Asuras, which are the bodyguards of Lahan all these years later. You remember Lahan, right? The asshole who nearly killed Apalala? Yeah. Well, they were hell-bent on tracking down Damon now that he was back on Earth and taking him out. And he'd been back a while at this point, which probably shows you how bad they were at their jobs. They tracked him to New York, where Damon was learning from the current master of the Sanctum Sanctorum there, Daniel Drum, how to be a part of society again. As soon as he sensed their presence within the city, Damon portaled away from the sanctum, but getting himself wounded in the process, and happened to collapse on the courtyard steps of Stark Industries. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. There's a saying I have when it comes to coincidence. The universe is rarely so lazy. Tony and his secretary had been on their way out, and while the bodyguards were getting Miss Pepper Potts back inside the building, apparently Tony rushed out to check on Damon. The masked punks, as he called them, started towards Damon and Tony, and Tony, mind you, this is pre-Iron Man Tony Stark, threatened to have his security teach them a lesson, and this is really big, wait for it, he threatened them with a class action and property destruction lawsuit. Ooh. Well, suffice it to say, these terrible, powerful beings weren't that scared of a few lawyers, but they did find the little man with the funny facial hair rather annoying, so they decided to attack him instead. As usual, that loud mouth of his got him into trouble, but it also gave Damon the amount of time he needed to recover. He flung himself back into the fray to protect him, and sent the 5 guards running with their tails between their legs. I think that's figurative. I don't know if they actually have tails. Apparently, Tony was so amazed by his skills that, being impulsive like he was, offered Damon a job as his lead bodyguard on the spot. Oh, trust me, I know how it sounds, but it's not as simple as you think this time. I'll get to that much later, however. Just remember that bit, alright? Ironically, the very foundation that made your father who he would come to be from this point forward was where he fell out with the Avenger. Yeah, he was an Avenger in my world, just like he is in yours. He was good friends with Clint, Thor, Bruce. I don't think he ever really took Steve's side in an argument. He was very partial to Tony, obviously because of their history. Yeah, Damon worked for Tony 11 years prior to this, and somehow he always managed to trust his instincts, and it worked out for them in ways that I still don't get. But, like always with Tony, 9 times out of 10, his random, impulsive thoughts just work out in favor. Except the 10th time when it doesn't usually turns out creating some new kind of supervillain, so, you know. You win some, you lose some. Damon was also very fond of Jarvis, now that I think about it. Oh, Jarvis was the AI companion that ran Tony's house for him, and his business, and his suits. Well, he's not around anymore. He became Vision. Damon wasn't exactly pleased with Tony when he found out that he had decided to turn Jarvis into Vision. There wasn't a whole lot he could do at the moment, and he wasn't even consulted because, well, he was in a magical coma caused by Wanda Maximoff. Yeah, that Wanda. Well, no, she wasn't evil at this point. She was more like a misguided kid. It's just that her mind magic really did a doozy on someone who's lived as long as Damon did. He didn't take it well, but that wasn't the breaking point. Actually, he slowly came to terms with what happened. Well, yes, having a physical body did make it easier for them to interact, and Vision did remember everything that happened back when he was Jarvis. But he was also his own person at this point. He was free from any constraints that an AI would have. He was a living... I don't think he was a breathing, but he was a self-aware entity now. And I know that Damon appreciated that he had been given his freedom. He helped Vision over time to understand what it meant to be human. Taught him how to love, which helped and worsened the situation for both him and Wanda. But like I said, that wasn't the reason for them having a falling out. Things were strained, but okay for a while until the Sokovia Accords and the Civil War between the Avengers took place. Well, calling it a civil war makes a mountain out of a molehill, really. Honestly, the biggest battle was just a fight in the parking lot of an airport in Germany. I remember watching it on the news, hearing about how Captain America had defied the Sokovian Accords and was now a criminal. It shocked everyone, really. They were divided down the middle over what should be done and who was right and who was wrong. And it drove them apart. And it was also, unfortunately, what drove Tony and Damon apart. Well, that's the thing. Damon didn't choose Steve. See, Damon, for pretenses and purposes, came off as detached and rude. But his philosophy was that there was no right or wrong choice, because in the end, there's right and wrong in every choice we make. Yeah, he was weirdly philosophical, but he was raised by dragons, so what do you expect? Well, as you can imagine, it didn't sit too well with Tony that he wouldn't pick sides, and they ended up having a fight over it, which rounded back to Tony breaking his trust over Jarvis, and they just left each other. It was an argument that was a long time coming, and it was over for Damon being an Avenger, and for them. He saved Tony's life from being taken by Steve, who was, according to Damon, trying his damnedest to bust Tony's reactor. But he threw him aside, and Bucky, the guy that Steve had been trailing around like a lost puppy, convinced him to leave. So, once Tony was back in the safety of the compound, Damon also left on his path and returned to Kamar-Taj. Well, he didn't pick a side. He was just kind of an intermediary trying to prevent the violence that was already happening from escalating. To be honest, I can see it from both sides. The point of the Sokovian Accords was to prevent superhumans and people with superhuman technology from misusing it. And that's what Tony wanted. But Tony was also feeling a little bit betrayed by Cap, who was, not agreeing with this. So, it was like everywhere he looked, people were turning against him. Or at least not siding with him, which is difficult when you have to make a hard decision that, realistically, even you don't know is the right thing to do. But at the moment, it's the best option you have. Where was I? Yes, Damon returned to Kamar-Taj, which, was right about the same time I showed up, actually. Yeah, I already told you that part of the story. Well, it worked out because the Ancient One was trying very hard and was very busy to track down Caecilius, and didn't really feel like taking on a new student on top of that. So, who better to ask for help than an old friend who needed a distraction, He was an amazing teacher, right from the start. He never reprimanded me like you would expect someone with an egotistical student to. But it didn't stop me from taking blows from Wong or Mordo either. I still distinctly remember him trying not to laugh as I met Wong for the first time. Well, Wong kind of grew on me, and I suspect I grew on him. Maybe just a little bit, but he wasn't really one for words. But I can't blame him. Back then I was arrogant and pig-headed and downright stupid for a man with 3 PhDs. Well, I refused to see things, not at face value, but for what they could be. Damon wasn't ready to push me further than he thought I needed to go, but the Ancient One was a different story. You know how I said that she was very patient? I think I have a little bit of pride in being one of those students that was able to push that to the limits. I don't know what happened exactly on the other side, but she dropped me on top of Mount Everest and left me there. No, the view wasn't glorious, actually. The view was more like, oh my god, I'm going to die of hypothermia in less than 5 minutes. Unless I get this stupid ring to work. Those were my exact thoughts, yes. Oh, I almost lost my life on that mountain, and when I fell back through, Damon was apparently quite upset with her for doing what she had. I didn't question it. I don't really even remember what happened after I grabbed onto him to warm up. I blacked out, and when I woke up, he had carried me back to my room. Yeah, it was quite a step for me. For us, really. Well, he helped me clean up. Literally, he cut my hair, shaved my scraggly hobo beard from me because my hands were still a complete wreck. Well, they look fine now, or at least more fine than they did. That's because I'm constantly channeling magic through them to bypass the nerve damage. I didn't know how to do that back then. It was like a Parkinson's patient. Every little thing was so hard for me to do. And as stubborn as I was, I had it in my head that they couldn't be fixed. Maybe that was one of the reasons that we got really close. He became my hands, in a sense. And it became a bit intense. So, like always, when something doesn't suit me, I pushed him away. I grew absorbed in the lessons and going past what he was ready to teach me. Yeah, I still regret not thanking him. Well, because I was scared to. Because I don't... God. At that point, everything was still just a game to me, in a way. And I don't want to talk about this. I don't really want to talk about the next part either. But that was when the worst part of your dad's life happened. Well, one of the worst parts. He lost your mother, Kiva. Yeah, I mentioned that before. Caecilius attacked London, destroying its sanctum, and blew me through a portal to New York. I don't know what happened to Damon at that point because we were separated and I didn't see him again until after your mother was killed. Well, I rushed her to the ER where Christine worked, trying to instruct them on how to save her, but she was coding fast. She'd been stabbed through a vital organ with one of Caecilius's shadow blades. I saw her leave her body, and Astral projected to go to her side to try and talk to her into going back. But she said she had no intention of living past that moment. I spent the next few minutes talking to her about not being ready to go forward without her guidance, without Damon's. She helped me see things in a new light, to understand that my arrogance was only hindering me in more than one of the worst ways possible. Oh, in her final moments, thankfully, Damon was able to locate us and Astral project himself to hold her one last time. She gave us her blessing and left for whatever was waiting for her on the other side. It was a wake-up call for me, really. Before then, I could say I was taking everything like a game. But I couldn't. Not anymore. It was up to me. And I'm one of the worst people it can be up to. Well, as hard as I took her death, it was worse for Damon. Despite being apart for so long, he still clearly cared for her deeply. None of the masters took it well, honestly. We had a nice little ceremony for her. It was a lot of heaviness that lingered for a long time around us, but we pushed forward to help her be at peace. He took comfort in the fact that they got to say goodbye, at least because most people don't have that luxury. Oh, and speaking of last goodbyes, I said that way too cheerfully. God, what is wrong with me? No, I don't actually want your insight on that. Skipping forward a few years, it's 2019 now, when I was the one running the Institute of New York. Wait, what do we call them? Yes, that's the word, thank you. While Damon had taken the Ancient One's place running Kamar-Taj and overseeing students coming and going, he was also wary of Mordo, because he had gone AWOL after deciding that magic wasn't really helping us protect people, and according to him, it was making things worse. Some days I agree with it, you know. Other times I see threats like Thanos and Kang, and I... Who? Oh, Kang? Oh, he's coming, and don't think that he won't. It's only a matter of time, unfortunately. But anyway. Yeah, it's a tool. You know, like knowledge. It's literally your ability to use knowledge to influence the world on a bigger scale than normal knowledge. And it can be used for good, but it can also be used for evil. Where was I? Ah, yes. That whole Infinity War affair. Well, that's kind of the unofficial name for the war with Thanos. And I told you how that went, but I didn't tell you everything. See, this is where things get weird, because I can only tell you what I know from recounts other people have given me. I noticed that when Thanos was fighting Tony and he was stabbed, that Damon took the blow as to the exact same spot, really. I thought he had been hit by some shrapnel, but... Or that he had been, you know, also stabbed and I just didn't see it. But that wasn't really the case. I knew there was something significant about it, but I didn't know exactly what it was at the time. As I said, I gave Thanos the Time Stone because Tony had to survive in order to stop him. I just didn't tell Damon that in those last few moments before I turned to dust. From what I've heard from both him and Wong, those 5 years him and Tony reconciled and moved back in together. Yeah. They had both taken heavy losses that led them to this. I was one of those, along with Pepper Potts, Tony Stark's fiancée, Peter Parker, his adopted son, and Vision, who Damon had come to consider his son of sorts. Each lost the one they loved, and their adopted child. So, of course, they leaned on each other. But it was more than that, because their bond went much deeper than just history. And with all things significant, I realized it too late. You remember how I told you that Damon was injured the same way that Tony was when Tony did the snap and saved everyone? Well, I told myself it was because he had been shot or, hit by an explosion. It was a battle. Lots of people were getting hurt. I heard him scream over the whirlpool of water that I'd created to keep everyone from being washed away. It was even so severe that Apalala was able to come out and help me with the waterfall. He had to physically manifest himself to make himself strong enough to keep Damon from dying. I think a part of me knew it wasn't from some blast or accident or explosion. No. As smart as I was, I had to have known it came from the surge of power that had coursed through his body the same way it had Tony's. No, it wasn't a spell, per se. It was magic, but it wasn't intentionally cast by either of them. Well, Tony was Damon's soulmate, And the pain that one of them shared, the other one did. Yeah. I'm still not exactly sure how it works. I'm guessing because Damon was so special, and the bond that they shared just transcended a lot of boundaries. They shared each other's life, and each other's pain. I only realized after I saw the light from the tear of hell in his chest almost fade, happen right after Tony's reactor ceased to work. It told me just as much as the scars did, and I carry that guilt on my shoulders to this day. Well, I should have tried harder to find a way that didn't end with death, because I could have looked into more futures. I could have found another way that worked, not just because of the sacrifices, but your father's world was in a gray scale, a monotone. All that light and color and joy had left it. When a soulmate bond is broken, everything else in the world feels broken too. Yet, Damon chose to make me the reason that he kept pushing forward. I still don't feel worthy of that. Not after all the problems I caused and continue to cause. Well, he stuck by me, and he helped me with a situation with Spider-Man. I still don't remember what that was, and in turn, I helped him with the situation he went through with Sagara and Lahan. Yeah, the snaky bastards came back, but it got handled. They weren't actually that tough, honestly. I don't know why they'd been able to stick around for so long. A bit like Team Rocket, actually, yeah. Truth be told, I think it was selfish reasons that kept us together. He stayed beside me like I was the last lifeline he had, and in ways, he was the last one I had too. Things with Christine had gone... They'd gone just about as well as every other relationship I'd ever had. And Wong's nice, but he's Wong. He's not really, bestie material. And this is the part that leads me to you. I told you about the girl, America Chavez, and everything we went through with Wanda. Yeah, it's kinda gross. There was a lot of things that I'm still not happy to talk about, so I'll skip that and get directly to the point. I came across another variant of Damon on Earth 838, where I told you I had used the Darkhold to defeat Thanos. No, not me, the other me from Steven 838, let's call him that. Well, he'd blown out his throat chakra and damaged his vocal cords so badly that it was at the point where he couldn't even talk, just to keep the Illuminati from questioning him about my motives with the Darkhold. He used that chakra to make mental barriers to keep Charles Xavier, the high-powered telepathic mutant on the Illuminati seat, from being able to read his mind. I didn't understand how he'd even do that, let alone why. Why would he sacrifice such an important part of himself for someone that he didn't even get reciprocation from? Why would he sacrifice himself from a variant of the man who had treated him so poorly? Yeah. He put himself between myself, us, and Wanda to try and slow her down. I don't know how she killed him, but based on what I saw happening to the other Illuminati members, it probably wasn't merciful. Yeah. And apparently it's a running theme with Damon through the multiverse to just sacrifice themselves for me. Yeah. You remember this part. This is where my Damon... When I met the dark variant of myself, the one that he sacrificed himself to stop, he asked me if his blood was worth his failure. I had killed that variant's version of him. Not that it was out of character for that version of me. No, again, not me personally, the evil Steven. Evil Stevel, we'll call him. Evil Stevel... I can't take that seriously. Evil Steven killed his own version of Damon. And yet Damon still wouldn't fight evil Steven until I was about to lose. I thought maybe it was because he was without your mother, because he was without Tony and he didn't want to face it anymore. At least that's what I thought at the time. No, I do know. I know the real reason. I can't accept it. Because I'm not worthy of it. When I possessed the version of me that had died, I won't go into detail about it because it was like a living hell being swallowed by the river Styx and thrown back up. But when I possessed his body, I got a look at his memories. His version of Damon was also in love with me, again. But I pushed him away. He vouched for me to be Sorcerer Supreme and never left my side. And when I asked him why, he told me, "Sorry. I'm sorry." No, I'm okay. Thank you. Where was I? Right. He told me that I am his Astral soulmate. Yeah, it's complicated, but a soulmate and an astral soulmate are different. A soulmate, not the astral kind, is the other half of you on the earth where you're from. Your astral soulmate transcends space and time and law. The person you're bound to through the entire universe. Hell, maybe even the multiverse. So no matter where Damon goes, him and I are bound to each other. And he will always love me even if I don't or can't love him back. I'm the only person in life he can't live without. So, That's what led me here to you. And I truly believe that I heard you. Because the Darkhold is trying to root itself deeper in me, and also because I want your father back. That's what it does, really. It roots around up there for your deepest desires and then promises a way to get them back to you, no matter the cost. It's one of the reasons I thought I needed to distance myself from Christine. That was evil Stephen's obsession. But no, it's Damon. I'm such an idiot. I never even told him I can't. No, it's that I never told him that I loved him. Ever since that night in Kamar-Taj, I knew I cared deeply for him, but I didn't want to risk losing him over petty little things. I thought that if we were just friends, it would be better, you know? I wouldn't ruin it. Like with everything I touch. I thought if we stayed at a comfortable arm's length, I'd be safe from that pain. But now it just seems so foolish. And I'm left to deal with the consequences as the Darkhold sinks in a little bit more each day and try to convince me to find a world where he's still alive. But I know he wouldn't want that. What? What do you mean he's still alive? Of course. Of course you can sense it. You were Baldur's grandchild. Linked to the live stream and all that. That's why you connected with the bracelet. You connected with your father's energy. Do you know? No, I won't ask. If he truly is still alive, then I will see him again someday, I'm sure, but not right now. Not when I still have this thing. It'd be too dangerous for everyone involved. Yeah, it seems that way. We're both much better off now, aren't we? Thank you. You kept your word, and even though you haven't really done much, you have indeed helped me more than you realize. I needed to talk about this. All of this, and I didn't realize how badly. Rest yourself now. You've earned it. Close your eyes and allow yourself to drift off. And as promised, when you wake, I will come find you and I will explain everything. More history, the bracelet, your power. I may be with America because... No, not the country. Oh my god. Yes. No, I was 95% sure before, but now I think it's 100%. That you are Damon's child, because that's absolutely the jab he would make at me. You are going to be a handful. But I would be lying if I said I'm not looking forward to the challenge. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a few back in at you. Be at peace, my friend. I'll see you again very soon.